later on.
Time for an ice cream.
Time for an ice cream, definitely. Thanks very much, Paul. Appreciate it. Right, you can hear the guys heading off on their warm-up lap. It is time to get underway then with the Pirelli National Superstock 1000 race. And go over to our commentators, James Hayden and Jack Burnicle.
Welcome back to deepest Kent and the beautiful natural amphitheatre known as Brands Hatch. Hatch actually is the old English word for Wattlegate, would you believe? Cyclists first raced here in 1926. It was 1928 when motorcyclists decided they liked the look of what is now the Cooper Straight that these guys are about to go along, except they'd been running along it in the other direction. So it was grass tracked on until World War II, and cinders were put down afterwards. Tarmac laid for the first time for an Easter weekend meeting here that attracted 40,000 fans. Well, we've got about that number again here, and those people right out there have two benefits. They see some wonderful action from very, very close to the track, and they don't have to listen to the course commentators because there isn't anything out the back there. Adam Jenkinson on 111 points, lead in the National Superstock 1000cc Championship ahead of Joel Burns, Hudson Kenner, Philip Backlund, the Swede, Victor Cox and Dan Johnson, all on Kawasaki's. Then the BMW of Lee Jackson. Peter Ward is 8th ahead of Tristan Palmer on the Moto Rapido Ducati, and Steve Brogan on his own private Kawasaki. 11th is Josh Day ahead of David Johnson, and then Tommy Aquino, James East, who's qualified brilliantly on the front row, John McGuinness, absolute TT legend, Marshall Neal, John O'Howarth, Jonathan Railton, Luke Quigley and Matteo Baiocco in 20th place. The starting grid on pole position is the championship leader, riding the SMT Honda, Adam Jenkinson, ahead of Joe Burns, Jimmy Storer all the way down from Perth, and a brilliant result for the X600cc rider James East. Second row headed by Snetterton winner Hudson Kenner from David Johnson, Tristan Palmer and Danny Johnson. The third row, Victor Cox, John McGuinness, Tommy and Lee Jackson. And the fourth row is Ulster boy Joshie Elliott alongside Dominic Usher, Philip Backlund and Josh Day. So this could be this has got an astonishing entry list in it, even down beyond what I gave you. There's Steve Brogan, Luke Quigley, Kyle Wilkes, Lee Johnston, Simon Andrews. Huge entry here, 40 riders on the grid, and every one of them capable of running, shall we say, fairly rapidly. We're looking at number 53. It's the Geordie boy Joe Burns from Newcastle upon Tyne on the JG Speedfit Kawasaki, and he was in really relaxed mode before qualifying and went out and did a beautiful job there. Look at that dynamic angle that number 11, Adam Jenkinson, has set the SMT Racing Kawasaki up on, and he just launches down into the first turn with a clear advantage over the rest of the field. Dipping down and up Halewood Hill, one of the WD-40 bikers made a terrific start through into second place. Goes one of those, oh, look at this. Adam Jenkinson, he has the advantage at the moment. I think James East has made a dynamic start. Number 56, James East, the East Anglian boy from Royston on the EDAC Motorsport Kawasaki, made a really strong start there. Tommy Aquino also has launched himself through ahead of David Johnson, Victor Cox. Joe Burns has been manhandled back to 6th place. Hudson Kenner 7th. Tristan Palmer on the Ducati is 8th. Jimmy Storer has been forced back to 9th place. So it's a hectic start, James Hayden.
Yeah, it's massive. You've got 40 guys on this grid and 40 guys who are real quality. But it looks like Burns has little change of the lead there, but I was going to say David Johnson got a really good start off the line, and Jenkinson has definitely just lost the lead on this point.
As they go sweeping round the right-hander, that Sheen curve, and number 56, James East. Well, this has never led on a 1000cc motorcycle before, so the former star of 600cc Superstock racing finally getting to grips with the larger machine and leads the way just to back up that brilliant qualifying result. Starting on the front row, the 23-year-old from Royston is in the lead. Number 56 leading the way, James Easton. Second, Jenkinson. Third, Tommy Aquino. Fourth for Joel Burns. Fifth, Victor Cox.
Aquino running a little bit wide there at paddock. You saw him go up the inside, but look at East. Oh, someone's down as well. Who's that? Is that
first faller of the day? Trudging back to a distant motorcycle. I think that is that? It's not Jenkinson, is it, on the SMT Honda? Is that the number 11? I think
It is.
Well, would you believe the Cheshire? It is Adam Jenkinson, who has been dominating this championship, has suddenly split it wide open.
Well, that is really going to open it up. So Jenkinson, you know, not even starting the second lap. So tyres not quite up to temperature. Just couldn't quite recognise him in that. It's slightly darker leathers covered in mud. But Adam Jenkinson, the championship leader, the man who's won 2 races so far this year, the only man to win more than 1 race. And down he goes at paddock. So
do you know, James, the only thing in his favour, he has a 25-point advantage. So even if Joel Burns gets to the front of this race, they'll be level on point. He won't actually lose the championship lead.
No. But, you know, at the same time, when you've got a lead like that, the last thing you want to do, you know, it's always nice to have a 25-point cushion, because someone's smoking there. It looked like one of the 4 Angels bikes. It looked like maybe Daniel Johnson. It looked like someone's bike was just giving it off a little bit of smoke. We'll keep an eye on that. I couldn't see it again there. And we got number 10. So number 10 there, Josh Elliott, has got a jump start, so a ride-through engine. And there it is. We got number 20 is David Johnson's bike smoking. Black and orange flag for David Johnson. I spotted some smoke. That is David Johnson there. You can see the orange and blue 4 Angels Kawasaki there. So just letting off a little bit of smoke, something happening. But look at East at the front. He's doing a great job, isn't he?
He's riding superbly, isn't he? So James East, the surprise leader, Joel Burns, has seen the championship leader crash out. He knows that this is his chance to haul back the points deficit.
Yeah, and that is, you've just exactly hit the nail on the head. He's seen that Jenkinson is out, and he knows that if he wins this race, he'll be joint leader. So that is what he's after. He's having a look. Can't do it, though. I'm impressed with the way East is riding. He seems very unflustered. He's got a nice style to it, tucked in. He's aggressive, but he's quite smooth in the way he peels it in. Yeah, I haven't really seen too much of this kid, but he's looking good.
It's not like he's achieved that much. And he finished 6th in the Superstock1000cc championship back in 2011. He went into Super Sport, but didn't really get to grips with it that handily. He did finish 4th in the British Super Sport Cup, but that was only 16th place overall. But James, he did have his best result here at Brands Hatch. Yeah. David Johnson needs to get off the track.
He does need to get off. I'm just worried for him as well, because that's going to start dropping. He's just seeing something now, hopefully, because at the end of the day, he's got to watch it, because otherwise he's dumping all. You know, he's coming out on his pipe there just to get off the line. At least he has noticed now they're out. Do you see the marshals, great marshals around here, out in the track saying get off, and he's got straight off. Frustrating for him though. You know, remember that you know, that's going to damage his championship, but very unlucky for him. Very unlucky. He's got a new engine this weekend as well, so I'll be disappointed with that.
Oh, okay, huge disappointment. It's amazing that we're not only confused by having 2 D. Johnsons, but they both ride for the same team in the same colours.
Yeah.
So Danny Johnson is actually back in about 10th place. That at this present moment in time, as we watch the riders backing up behind the 23-year-old James East, the paint sprayer on the IDAC Kawasaki, having absolutely his best ride on a 1000cc motorcycle by a country mile, and leads the way handily from Joel Burns, who's pressing hard. So too Tommy Aquino on the WD-40 bike.
I was going to say Tommy Aquino as well. Exactly that, Jack. You know, we haven't seen too much of the American. The man in 3rd spot there on the yellow and blue WD-40 bike, he's having a really good ride for him, and you can see that he's just starting to tag back in, bring him along, and behind him he's got the man who won the last race, Hudson Kenner, and he's looking good as well. Hudson Kenner 3rd in the championship, and again he's only 1 point off Burns, so if he wins he would only be 1 point off the championship lead. So whatever, this mistake by Jenkinson is really going to close this championship up.
The front 4, well, how international do you want it? You've got Cambridge versus Tyneside versus the USA versus South Africa at the front here, with the South African Hudson Kenner getting really back to form now. That victory at Snetterton highlighted just how he's recovering himself as we watch Josh ride through.
And hopefully he doesn't get another one. You saw the man with the gun, and what he does, if you actually come too far through the pits and they clock that, then you have to go back and do another one. I've seen it.
This is what happened.
Let's have a look. Whereabouts is he?
So he was on the fourth row at the right-hand side. You may have seen it before we did, but I tell you what, Josh Elliott, James, he has a little bit of a history of getting jump starts, you know. It's not the first time. I think he needs to, somehow he needs to kind of just settle himself down a bit on the line.
Yeah, but look at this. This is really starting to close back into the front here. We've got also, just behind Kenner, we've got Cox, Palmer, Storer. They're all starting to come as well. So this is really starting to, this top 7 are just starting to come together a little bit here. They're all in the 29s, and then after them, in the 8th spot, it goes to Luke Quigley, and they drop down and they're doing 30s. But these guys are really starting to bunch up.
Fastest lap on lap 2 was Joel Burns, 128.944, which is about 0.4 of a second off John Kirkham's BMW lap record from 2010. Perfect conditions here as the 4 leaders burst across the line. Victor Cox, who of course finished 3rd in this championship last year, the tall Wiltshireman, is not having the best of years, and he is trying to get on terms with them, running on the bright green Kawasaki. 5th place, running out of the Ian Locker racing camp. His teammate Philip Backlund not having the best of days at all, the Swede, back in 17th place, just ahead of John McGuinness. Yeah, that is strange, because he did so well here on the Indy circuit. You can only imagine that Backlund's got a problem, because very promising talent, doing a good job there. And look at Palmer on that Ducati Panigale. He's such a big guy. There's such... Oh, wow!
Blimey.
Something happened there. Did James East miss a gear?
Yeah, he did this.
Wow, Joe just suddenly found it.
No, it's worse than that. It's worse than that. It's worse than missing a gear. He's got some sort of major problem. So has James East disappeared at that point? So at the moment, this is what happened coming over. Wow-wee! That was a problem for James East. He's really slow. That was a huge moment for Joel Burns. And now, for the first time, Tommy Aquino from the US of A has the lead in the WD-40 on the WD-40 machine, number 31. The Team WD-40 Kawasaki. We've got Kawasaki versus Kawasaki. Kawasaki's everywhere around us. Tristan Palmer having a strong ride in 6th place. Jimmy Storer set the fastest lap. The Persiaman on 128.829. But he's still behind Tristan Palmer on the Moto Rapido Panigale. And here comes Hudson Kenner getting underneath Joel Burns, and I don't know whether that collision might have damaged anything on Joel Burns' bike, James. No. He just doesn't look quite as confident as he did a few moments ago. No, I don't think so. But interestingly, East is still there. I thought maybe he had something terminal, but he obviously didn't. But it could be as simple as, you know, he missed a gear, or he knocked his kill switch, you know, with his hand, or just did something, because he's running and he's running back again. What he did do is obviously gave Burns a complete fright. And it cost him some time. You know, Aquino was the man who really managed to benefit, and Hudson Kenner has just used its advantage as well. Look at him sliding out there. I think Hudson Kenner's really benefited from that moment exactly a lap ago, and now making the most of it, because he's got ahead of his closest rival in the championship, Joel Burns. He could move past him into 2nd place in the championship and get right onto the tail of the championship leader. Yeah, and it looked to me like East has gone then. So, you know, he was trying to hang in there, but it looks like he's completely... in the back of the picture. Look at that beautiful Moto Rapido Ducati, because the man from the Midlands there, number 33, Tristan Palmer, has pushed through into 4th place, looks increasingly dangerous in this race. And you've take the words out of my head. That bike, that Ducati Panigale, is absolutely gorgeous. I could hang that on my wall at home, stand that in my hall like a sculpture. It is just such a beautiful piece of design. Very wide though, going through clearways there. Probably cost himself a 10th or 2. But Aquino doing a good job at the front. The Panigale. Oh, here's Hudson Kenner though. Kenner just dives underneath. Hudson Kenner, we've had to go through this before, haven't we? But with Tommy Aquino tries to squeeze back, but now it's the Homer Racing Leonic Balance Link Cell Kawasaki of the Ashley de la Zouche-based South Africa. Number 3, Hudson Kenner, leads the way from Tommy Aquino and the Geordie Joel Burns, and then Tristan Palmer, Treacle from the Neaton, is there, but bright red Ducati ahead of the green Kawasaki of Victor Cox. And then the man who set the fastest lap so far, the Gary Jordan from Perth. A problem there for Victor Cox. Did he do the same thing? He suddenly slowed up on the hill out of Surtees, and Jimmy Storer pounced. Yeah, I mean, he had some problem. Oh, look at this lot. I think James East is still in there. There he is. James East is there ahead of Dan Johnson, Lee Jackson on the Bills-based BMW, Luke Quigley, Steve Brogan. Kyle Wilkes is there, Peter Ward. No, you're right. East is still circulating there, although he's been swallowed up by a few of these guys. There is East, sorry. And then you've got Daniel Johnson just behind him. Then Lee Jackson. He's been impressive as well, hasn't he, Lee Jackson, this year? Really going about his job in the right way on that build-based BMW, learning his craft and just developing, because these are big, powerful motorcycles. And he's doing a good job, the youngster.
Yeah, he's a slender little flower. He was telling me that they've had a few problems during qualifying. He felt that they'd kind of sorted some of them out for the race, so he was expecting to be a bit more competitive, but at least he's in the bunch here.
Yeah, and here he comes, just moving up the inside of Daniel Johnson at paddock there. So Lee Johnson, the man we took the time. Lee Jackson. There's so many Johnsons. Getting confused, sorry, Lee.
Lee Jackson, he's such a level-headed kid because of what he won a dramatic national Superstock 600 championship last year. Meanwhile, at the front, we still have that front three: South Africa, the USA, and Tyneside, locked together ahead of Tristan Palmer. Palmer, of course, who scored that astonishing debut victory for Motor Rapido when he stepped onto that Panigale for the first time at Knock Hill.
But this is back at the front. Hudson Kenner leading by less than 1/10 of a second from Aquino. Behind them is Burns, and behind them Tristan Palmer, then Jimmy Storer, then Victor Cox. So that lead in 6. These are, a good 2.5 seconds again ahead of the man in 7th, which is East. So and these guys, and look at Joe Burns as well on the white bike in 3rd place. White bike with the blue stripe, number 53. You just feel like he's just pricked his ears up a little bit, like he's just having a little look. I think he wants to make a little move in this next lap or so.
Clever lad, Joe Burns. Puts together engines for people up on Tyneside. A lot of these lads are good young engineers, you know.
They are, because one of the big things they've had in this weekend, there was lots of murmurings about the ECU. They've all got controlled ECUs, and what the organisers did, they said, OK, if people are muttering that some people are cheating, some people aren't, they're going to test every single person's ECU. They're going to dyno test person's bike, which is what they've done. Then they've sealed all the ECUs up, and it was a sort of a big thing. There's lots of rumours, that were flying about, but no one has been called. There was a few that were sort of had a few question marks about them. And after this race, once again, the whole field is getting their bikes dyno tested, just to keep an eye on everything. That is number 10 there, isn't it?
Josh
Just coming in. It's Josh Elliott.
You said he might get another ride through, or is he packing in? Yeah, he's rolling into his pit. And there's some dramatic racing going on, James, involving David Johnson, Luke Quigley, Steve Brogan, all that lot enmeshed together in the middle of the pack. Meantime, at the front, we've got all this going along. But Hudson Kenner at the moment is just looking a little bit in control of this. Notice that Tristan Palmer is right back. Oh, and number 56, James East, is out of the race after an absolutely brilliant performance during the opening laps.
He doesn't deserve that.
For Eastie, and also entering the pits, number 18, Lee Johnston. General Lee Johnston on the Padgett's Racing Honda has entered the pits, so too Joshie Elliott. But James East, the unluckiest one of that crew.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, at the front, Hudson Kenner. By now, well, veteran-ish South African.
Yeah, just coming up 2/3. You can see 10 laps of 15 just to start the 11th, so past 2/3 distance here, and it looks like Kenner is just trying to stretch the pace fractionally. He's 129.7, was matched by most of the guys behind him, all in the sort of high 27s. You can see the gaps there. So that top 5 within less than a second, and just a whisper off them, Victor Cox on the Kawasaki.
2/3 race distance completed. That always comes up to tell us that a race result would count should anything happen at this point. But right now, Hudson Kenner, the 32-year-old, the Grub, the junior South African motocross champion as a 12-year-old, is just beginning to stretch his advantage over Tommy Aquino and Joe Burns.
Now, it's going to be interesting now, because if you're in this group and you're dicing and you just start to see the leader, you might have been quite happy to hold your station for a bit, counting down the laps, but with 4 laps to go, you see the leader start to stretch a little bit, then it's time to make a move. I'll be interested to see what Burns and Tristan Palmer are going to do in this next lap or so, where they're going to try and get past Aquino and go with Hudson Kenner, because they're in danger. If they don't, Hudson Kenner might just be able to time this perfectly, make the break, just as they're coming up to back markers in this real critical part of the race.
It looks to me, James, as if Tommy Aquino is quicker around the extended part of the circuit, the full Grand Prix circuit. He tends to close the gap a bit on Hudson Kenner, but then Hudson seems to be very fast when we get back to the Indy circuit bit in the arena here.
Yeah, there's definitely, you do see them concertina a little bit as they go around the circuit, but one rider's slightly better than the other in an area. But Hudson Kenner, for the first time, he's got just under 0.3 of a second. So that's the biggest lead we've seen. It's not a lot, but it's something.
So Kenner, Aquino, Burns at the front. Cox behind them, then Lee Jackson leads the next surge just from Kyle Wilkes, Luke Quigley, Dan Johnson, Steve Brogan and Peter Ward. Then that's Josh Day in 13th ahead of Dominic Usher, Philip Backlund now in the points in 15th ahead of Mike Booth and John McGuinness. This is Victor Cox beginning to press Jimmy Storer.
And I think you never know, he's not quite close to us for a move on this lap, but you could see his intent. But look at Tristan Palmer as well. The fourth bike in your picture there.
He's pushing Joe Burns onto the back wheel of Tommy Aquino now, so it's beginning to really tighten up. If the grubber's got this in the bag, Hudson Kenner, then certainly, look how quickly then Hudson's disproved my theory there by breaking away actually out in the country.
Well, the point is, he's just starting to stretch this. And remember, this is the man that won last night. No one else has won, by the way, apart from Adam Jenkinson, who crashed out on the just the end of the first lap. Nobody else has won more than one race so far this season. So we've had, 5 different winners, which has been great.
Adam Jenkinson won the first time out here at Brands Hatch Indy, and then it was David Johnson who took victory at Thruxton. That mustn't even seem a long time ago to him now. Victor Cox was the winner at Alton Park, and then Adam Jenkinson back at Donington Park, and then it was Tristan Palmer, at Knock Hill. And Hudson Kenner took that surprise win at Snetterton, but it's not looking such a surprise now because he's stretching away from the opposition and he's going to leave them to squabble over the rostrum positions.
Yeah, you just saw at Druridge there, Stefan Capella, number 67, his bike was just being pushed out the way, so Stefan Capella down there. But look at Hudson, he's really getting that lead now. If they're going to try and do anything, they've got to go now. Aquino can't quite live with him. He's doing a great job in second spot, but that's nearly up to a second now. And if he gets to over a second in these last couple of laps, you're not going to pull that back.
Hudson Kenner, this really is a storming return to form. And so this is the battle on Aquino, Burns, Palmer, Storer, Cox. We tend to forget that he was runner-up in British Supersport back in 2008 with victories including a rounder here at Brands Hatch.
Yeah, no, he was great on a Supersport bike.
And he was only 3 points behind Steve Brook. Oh, and this is a move by Tristan Palmer. And he's got locked in together. Hang on, Burns is still clear, so it's Jimmy Storer who's suddenly getting enmeshed there with Tristan Palmer and giving the Ducati a hard time.
I think Palmer must have had a little moment that we'd seen off camera, because he was obviously dicing with Burns and Aquino, and suddenly he's back with Storer and Cox. So something's out. Look,
he gets a slide over the hilltop, just hangs on to the Panigale.
Oh, as they start their penultimate lap as well, Jack. So lap 14 and 15, Hudson Kenner now up to 1.2 seconds, so he's got a real nice little lead on him. And remember, if he wins this, which it looks like it'll do, he will just be 1 point off the championship lead. And Joe Burns, 16, so all three of them are going to be within about 5-6 points of each other, which is going to be great for the championship.
Just goes to show, James.
Who's this?
Whoa,
number 2, was that?
Oh, is it Josh Day?
Josh Day?
I think that might be Josh Day who's gone down on the B. Weiser Kawasaki. Oh, he was having a good run as well, the Cirencester lad. And there goes, oh, look at that. What a move by Tristan Palmer. He's grabbed the advantage off Joe Burns. Burns was pressing Tommy Aquino on the WD-40 Kawasaki, but suddenly the Panigales nabbed that last rostrum place from the Geordie lad. He tries to come back upside through Dingle-Dell. Can't quite make it stick. No. We're on the penultimate lap, 14 to 15. Right, Jack, what do you reckon? Do you reckon Palmer's going to get a move on Aquino on the last lap? I think he could. Unless Joe Burns has got anything he can attack him with. It could be that Tristan is the man who's got the... he certainly looks like he's pulling Aquino in.
I think he will. I think we'll see Tristan Palmer. Aquino doing a great job, though, the American, on the WD-40 bike. But I think Tristan Palmer just looks like he's got that little bit more hunger onto him.
The final lap then, Hudson Kenner leads the way. Is it going to be 2 back-to-back wins for the South African? Second place for Tommy Aquino. Right behind him is Tristan Palmer, the lad from Nuneaton in the Midlands.
Well,
right behind him is Joe Burns, now having to fight to hang on to that 4th place ahead of Jimmy Storer and Victor Cox.
Look at Tristan Palmer out of there, sliding it. Aquino, though, doing a lovely job. And look at Aquino in there. Lots of back brake, the right back coming round. And this is such a critical corner on the last lap. You've got to get it fired out of here neatly. Let's have a look at the run down here. Aquino's done that beautifully. It's going to make it difficult for Palmer. He's having a look, though. No, not quite.
Swooping uphill onto the Minter Straight. Hudson Kenner in the lead. This, the battle for the rostrum places. And Tommy Aquino really showing his colours for the first time on the WD-40 Kawasaki.
Yep.
The first time we've had him running up front like this, and he looks a likely win, a likely rostrum finisher here. Hudson Kenner surely has this in the bag, but Tristan Palmer not yet quite. For such a quiet, shy man, Palmer is some sort of aggressor on the track. Hudson Kenner comes through clearways into the Clark curve. He will take victory. Tommy Aquino surely is going to put the WD-40 Kawasaki into second place. Kenner wins it. Kawasaki first, Aquino second, third for Tristan Palmer, 4th Joe Burns, 5th Jimmy Storer, 6th place for Victor Cox. 7th should go, I think, to Lee Jackson. We wait for little Lee Bob Jackson to cross the line. For build-based BMW, he does there. Quigley grabs 8th place from Dan Johnson, Steve Brogan, Dominic Usher. We lost number 23 on the last lap at Surtees. That was an unlucky fall for Kyle Wilkes as Hudson Kenner once more celebrates victory at Brands Hatch. I think the last time he was able to do that was 2008.
Yeah, fantastic loss that. Hudson Kenner be well chuffed with that. 2 wins on a bounce. He equals. There's only him and Jenkinson more than one. Aquino, though, great result for him. His best of the year. Fantastic. Tristan Palmer third. And that's going to mean that Hudson Kenner is now 1 point off. Adam Jenkinson will still lead it, but he'll lead it by 1 point from Hudson Kenner. And then we're going to have Burns is going to be, what's he going to be?
He's got 35 points. He'll be 12 points behind the leader, 11 points behind Kenner. That's what a difference one race mistake and one race win can make.
Yeah, but Hudson Kenner, he wasn't easy by any means, was it? You know, he really had to stick to his plan. He had to just keep going, take a 10th here, take a little 10th there, and great result.
So remember, he finished in 2008 second to Glenn Richards in the British Supersport Championship. That was Triumph versus Raceways Yamaha. He had victories here at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit at Mallory Park and Silverstone. And then also in 2010, that man, number 3, Hudson Kenner, finished second, just 3 points behind Steve Brogan in the Evo class in British Superbikes. Remember that? But he's managed to turn the heat on in the Superstock 1000 Championship Series. Victory at Snetterton, a victory again here at Brands Hatch, and suddenly he is right back in the frame. The result of that race then, Hudson Kenner wins it for Kawasaki. Second place for the WD-40 Kawasaki of Tommy Aquino. Third place, Moto Rapido Racing Tristan Palmer. 4th place for Joe Burns, riding bike number 53, the JG Speed Fit Kawasaki. 5th place for Jimmy Storer on his garage-backed BMW, all the way down from Perth in Scotland. He held off the ILR Kawasaki of Victor Cox. Lee Jackson, build-based BMW, 7th. Luke Quigley, riding on Kawasaki, finished in 8th place. Dan Johnson on the Four Angels Kawasaki, 9th. Steve Brogan, riding bike number 17, the Steve Brogan Racing Kawasaki, all the way down from Maghull in Liverpool, finished 10th ahead of Dominic Usher. Peter Ward, Mike Booth and Philip Backlund, and Ashley Beach grabs the final point in 15th place ahead of John McGuinness, Simon Andrews, Josh Wainwright, James Egan and Jonathan Railton. And the championship standings, after all that, have suddenly dramatically taken a turn for the different, because just 1 point separates Fowler Adam Jenkinson on the SMT Kawasaki from Hudson Kenner. Joe Burns, 3rd place on Kawasaki, 99 points. He may have dropped a place, but he's closed the gap to the top. 4th is still Philip Backlund, despite that rather lacklustre performance from the Swede, ahead of Victor Cox, his teammate at ILR Kawasaki. Tristan Palmer now 6th for Moto Rapido, ahead of Lee Jackson's BMW. I beg your pardon, joint 6th with Lee Jackson's BMW. Dan Johnson, Four Angels Kawasaki, is 8th. Tommy Aquino, the WD-40 Kawasaki, now jumps into the top 10 in 9th place after after that brilliant second place ahead of Peter Ward on one of the IDAC Kawasaki's. And then we've got Steve Brogan 11th, Josh Day 12th after unluckily crashing there. David Johnson, even more unfortunately, out with a blown engine, is 13th ahead of James East, who brilliantly led the race early on. John McGuinness, Luke